Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my studio. Hope everyone's well. So as promised, I'm going to continue with this little butterflies sketch, if you like. If you didn't see the video where I started this, it was the video with two little landscapes, two little 6x4 inch landscapes, one of a kind of seaside view and another one of a lakeside view kind of thing, which actually went up 2 days ago. And at the end of it, while I was waiting for the two little landscapes to dry for the finishing touches to go on, I thought I would just start these little wet in wet butterflies. And I promised I would finish them off in the next video. So here we are. I'm working on a piece of bao hong paper, about 6x8 bao hong, £140 watercolour paper. I think it's supposed to be 100% cotton, but presumably recycled. And I did these wet in wet. I just drew the shapes with water and then dropped the paint in and let it find its own way. So I'm going to now come back in with more colour, and so I've wet this butterfly and I'm just going to drop in some more paint and see how that goes. So we'll just, where it's darkest already, we will put some darks in again and try and keep it really kind of, I won't say abstract because I'm claiming that these are butterflies, but I would say loose. And we can use a little stick. I've got a little stick here, twig from a tree, and we can use that to kind of indicate a few veins. We don't want to do too much of that, but just a little bit. And then we might want to come in with, for example, since this one is green in a bluish tone of green, maybe we might want to come in with a more yellowish green. So I'm going to mix some, I think that's cadmium yellow with a bit of olive green to give us a lighter yellowish green, and we'll just drop a little bit of that in. And I'm not doing what you would call brush strokes, but I'm just dropping it in and letting it, like I said, find its own way. And we could use ink, or we could use pencil, watercolor pencil. If I can find my little watercolor pencil. That gives us nice dark lines if we want to put pattern on, like, for example, that. So just keep it broken up, and yeah, if you just want to make the head a little bit darker, maybe put some shadow on one side of the body, something like that. Just play around. You can do some little dots if you want. I will add some spatter over the whole thing towards the end, but I also thought it would be quite nice to have just a few leaves in the background. So I thought I would just add those. But you don't have to if you don't want to, obviously. And then you can, oh, there's so many different ways you can do this. I mean, you could just put little stems in by drawing with the stick. That's kind of cute. You can make veins in the leaves with the stick as well, like that. And okay, so now we'll go on to the orangey one. So like I said, just make it all wet again. And let me think, we need a bright orange. So I've got, this is permanent rose. I'm going to mix that with some cadmium yellow to make an orange. And then we'll just drop that in. And maybe a little bit more down the middle. Like that, perhaps. And with this one, you might want to maybe put some, oops, there's a hair. It's the trouble with living with so many animals, there's so many hairs. You can put some dark brown tips. For example, you could put some little spiky things down here. Some of these butterflies have, oh, I don't know what they call them, but they have things, pointy bits on the ends of their wings. And we can put some dots there like that. And again, we can emphasize the head a bit. And I'd already drawn the body in watercolor pencil, so we can just add to that a little bit. And for the veins, another way of doing it, this is a felt tip pen. You can just draw some veins in. You won't get much in the way of ink out of the thing, but it will allow the paint to follow the dents that you make with the pen. So that's another way. You won't see much, but you'll see something. Now this blue one here, I think I might put a bit of violet on this one. So I've got some alizarin crimson and some Winsor violet and a bit of cobalt blue. And we'll just drop that in at the top here and let the blue show through. Put some dots down here perhaps. And this one I haven't actually done much in the way of a body yet, so I'm going to make some really dark violet using some burnt sienna and some violet, and I'm just going to make a head and a body and just let that bleed. And we could put the veins in this one using a Stettler pigment liner. You might want to go round some of the markings, for example. These are all just possible ideas that you might want to, but you'll be surprised when they dry actually how different the whole thing will look. And then you'll do another layer. Right, so this is another green one. And let's see, we've got sap green here, and I'm going to try and find some clean yellow. I have to wash that off. All right, there's cadmium yellow and sap green to give us a nice bright green. And we do that nice and wet. More yellow. And then let's make some nice dark green. Perhaps we'll add a little bit of black and pop that in at the ends here. Always looks a bit strange at this point, but it will all do its thing, I hope. Another thing you can do if you want, you can just drop more water in and then you might get some interesting backgrounds. Painting little butterflies like this is a really good way of practicing water control. So, because you're not too worried about the result, doesn't really matter, but you'll learn how much water you can use to get certain effects. There's no hard and fast rule, it's just a matter of what you feel like doing, really. But being in control whilst also allowing things to happen in a loose way. So now I'm going to add to the turquoise here. I'm going to put a bit more green in it and make it a more greeny turquoise on this side. It's also good practice for mixing colours as well. And then maybe we'll add some yellow. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my leaves and I'm going to add some more. And I did say I would use my little stick to do the veins and the stem. It's best to do them pointing in different directions, but keep them, well, for this particular kind of design, maybe keep them the same sort of size. Now, looking at this from outside, I'm now thinking to myself, I think I've probably been a bit heavy on the green. I was getting carried away with green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this one. And I'm going to take it back to blue. Now, because the blue underneath was all dry, all of that green that I put on top comes off. Hasn't affected what's underneath at all. So instead of what I had done, I'm going to go ahead now and put in the body. And I'm going to just use the pencil to do some design on it. And we'll forget all about the green. Forget that was ever there. And if you want to be more in control of your shapes, so for example, supposing you wanted to make the head a little bit more prominent, more obvious, and you wanted to perhaps put in the eyes, then use a pigment liner, one that isn't going to run like this, a Stetler. And none of these are dry yet, so I'll just carry on making leaves. So come back to these ones and perhaps we'll make some dark lines. And when you're using this pencil, if you want to dip the pencil into water, you can use wet paint on your palette, and then that makes it much darker. Or if it's still wet, you can just work into the water. And I'm going to just lift a little bit of this out as well, because I think some of this has gone a bit too dark. It is very powerful, the paint and the pencil. I'll just do that. And I think I've got enough leaves in the background. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take my rigger and I'm just going to pick up an assortment of colours and I'm going to do some spatter. For a painting like this, I think, because this is extremely loose, almost abstract, because I think you could probably say that these butterflies don't look like any particular butterfly. And they have got they're wonky. You could say they were wonky, right? But we hope that at the end we will have something that looks attractive. But at the moment, while it's wet, it's really not easy to say. That one's almost dry, so I'm going to do another thing here, which is to come in with my rigger, and I'm just going to put some random lines on here, just not really indicating the veins, but just, you know, as if they were broken veins, you know? Just to give it a bit more texture, and we'll come in with the green as well. And here, just... Okay, so this is now dry, and this is where you have permission to fiddle. This is perhaps the most, I don't know, endearing feature sometimes for this kind of painting, because, you know, we've got to a point where fiddling is what's going to just bring the whole thing to that kind of randomness that we're looking for, which is little tiny strokes, little tiny dots and dashes and various sort of just broken strokes and little lines in, you see how that dried? That's really nice. And just incomplete strokes. You don't want to sort of try to finish anything, just indicate something. And you can often paint just in water, and yeah, try to kill your colours a little bit, make them a little bit duller. By adding brown to green, you'll get more interesting shades. Add brown, not just yellow or blue, but add brown, and then you're going to get a shaded green like that. You can mix any colour you like with just a few colours. So I'm mixing here, this is quinacridone gold, a little bit of sap green, I think that was, and then I might put in a bit of this English red to give me a kind of dark muted green, and then I'm just going to drop in some spots on this green one here, and maybe we'll put a few more on him up there. Always they dry lighter, remember, so don't be afraid if it looks a little bit dark. And then we'll put some turquoise ones on this one, just on one side of him. And then I might just pop in with some, that's too wet, some shadow on one side of some of these leaves, just to give them a little bit of dimensionality. Been thinking I needed to put another one in there. And I think we're getting close to the end. You could carry on fiddling. The bodies are all different, you'll notice. I've made them all different. Some of them are really sketchy, some are hardly there at all. You might want to put a little bit more structure in there, perhaps. Maybe not. But I think that that's probably about it. So I'm going to leave that there. If you want more information about painting different kinds of butterflies or other paintings that have got butterflies in them, have a look at this playlist, which has got them all nicely gathered together for you. So just pop along over there. And if you want the sketch, go to dianeantone.com, where you can download the sketches for free. But meanwhile, have another look at one of the videos that we put up a few weeks or a few months ago. You never know what you might find back there in the archives. So I'll let you go now. Have a lovely day, evening, morning, afternoon, whatever the time is where you are, and I'll see you again soon. So bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.